Colts and Texans tied up atop the AFC South. This is Good Morning Football presented by Intuit QuickBooks. We are just one sleep away. This is Wednesday. TNF is tomorrow night right here on NFL Network. Getting you set for that. Going over all your morning headlines. My name's Kay. Peter Schrager. Kyle Brent. Sean O'Hara is in. Thanks for hanging with us.
Hi, guys. It's awesome. We shot jump shots. We talked running backs already. I mean, I can't believe that first hour flew by.
We have a great show.
Wait till the second hour. We've got more guests, more fun. It's time for the lead block.
Time for the lead block.
Thursday night football does feature those Colts and Texans in the AFC South. It is a showdown right here. And Colts running back Marlon Mack underwent successful hand surgery early in the week on Monday, but he won't be able to play on Thursday, leaving a key member of the Colts offense to pick up the slack. And we've got an update from James Palmer on the Texans in a moment. But let's start with our very own Randy Moss in Indianapolis.
Thanks, Kay. With Marlon Mack now out, the status of T.Y. Hilton may be even more important, and Hilton says his availability Thursday night depends on two additional boxes that have to be checked. Team doctors have to clear him, and also head coach Frank Reich and general manager Chris Ballard. Reich says they will work out Hilton on the side this week to determine his readiness. He hasn't played or practiced since suffering a non-contact calf injury in a practice on October the 30th. That was so painful, he said at the time, I thought my year was over. But the Colts obviously would love to have him back. Against the Texans, he's played 16 games in his career, 1,519 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns, and 11 catches of 40 yards or more. Now with the Texans, here's James Palmer.
Well, thanks, Randy. All eyes will be on Deshaun Watson Thursday night and how he responds to the blowout loss him and the Texans suffered on the road to the Baltimore Ravens on a short week from last Sunday. Now, it's never happened to Watson before in his NFL career. The most points he's ever lost a regular season game by was 8. Now, Tim Kelly, their offensive coordinator, told me what makes Watson a great player, his ability to turn the page, whether it's from a bad play or a bad week. Now, Watson told me that started back in high school with his high school coach, Michael Perry, who told him the phrase, snap and clear. It's always just moving on, and as Bill O'Brien told him now, he's just as good as his last play. Now, O'Brien and Watson were also talking the last couple of days, and O'Brien's message to Watson was this: you're still young in your NFL career. You haven't seen everything that defenses can throw at you. But he also told Watson the best thing about you is you don't make the same mistake twice. The other aspect is Watson says he does not want to try to do too much Thursday night or put too much pressure, Kay, on himself.
That's true, James. Thank you so much, and to Randy as well. Let's take a look at the Colts and the Texans as they sit in this playoff picture. They're tied atop the South, with the Colts holding the tiebreaker because they, of course, beat the Texans round 1 back in week 7. The Texans coming off a punishing loss to the Ravens. The Colts took down the Jags by 20 points. So it's week 12, Shrakes. Who has the advantage, the red-hot Colts or the Texans looking for redemption?
Of all the teams that are in these playoff pictures, the AFC and the NFC, I feel like a national audience has seen the Colts the least, right? The NFL schedule makers made it. We saw them against the Chiefs on a Sunday night early, but a lot of times they're buried at this 1 o'clock window with 8 other games, and you look at the score and like, oh, they blew out this team. Okay, great. This is a chance to watch the Colts, but it's not the Colts at full strength. They might be without their top 3 wide receivers, their starting strong safety, their leading rusher, 2 of their top 3 corners, and a lot of depth guys. And yet I still say, mental edge, everything into this game, the Colts have absolutely owned the Texans with Jacoby Brissett as their starter. That's 3 games, and he also beat the Texans as a New England Patriot. I can't go away from the Colts, even if it's on the road in Houston. I just think the Colts have had the edge psychologically, mentally, and even in that playoff game last year with Andrew Luck or whoever, it was complete domination in that building. When one team treats another team like little brother for so many years and so many times in a row, it's hard for me to say, you know what, the other team's going to turn it around without any example why. I got the Colts. I don't care who's on the field. If Brissett's quarterback and Frank Reich is coaching, I think I'm going to go with those guys.
It feels like the Colts have so much more momentum, obviously, with coming off of that big victory and having 200-yard rushers, so they're physically dominant. And I'm with you. I feel like they are a more physical team on both sides of the ball. But this Houston Texans team, there's something about them that makes you say, man, offensively, if Deshaun Watson is healthy and this ankle is not bothering him at all in this game, he and DeAndre Hopkins can just get hot. And I think that could be something that the Jacoby Brissett and the Colts would struggle with. If all of a sudden Deshaun Watson makes a couple big throws early in this game and they have to get away from that ground and pound that the Colts want to use, I think this game could kind of turn differently.
Well, they use that ground and pound all the time, though. They're the fourth best rushing team. A lot of that, Quentin Nelson, you can speak to that in that offensive line. On the other side, you don't have Jadeveon Clowney. He's busy making plays for Seattle. J.J. Watt, he isn't out there. So I expect this team to continue rushing. I love that you're not worried. Marlon Mack, if you hear the fact that they're the fourth in the NFL in rushing, you're worried they lose the guy when they're averaging 141 point something yards on the ground every game. That said, Jonathan Williams steps in there. No Jordan Wilkins. He has a 100 yards on the ground. It's Quentin Nelson and those guys up front. Your favorite guy.
Absolutely.
Making it happen for this team. They're going to be okay, I think, in this one.
Sean, Big Q Nasty going to this one. Can you have any running back, or does it have to be somebody special? What do you think? Is it that good?
Is Big Q,
Quentin
Nelson that good?
The point is Marlon Mack is out, and who cares because the line is that good? Or maybe that's underestimating Marlon Mack.
I think they are pretty good, but I also think this Texans defense is better than people give credit for. And I think Romeo Cornell is going to test them and say, look, it's not just about, hey, can Williams step in and be a great running back? We're going to test his pass blocking ability. On third down, we're going to bring some blitzes. We're going to make you pass protect. We're going to get after Jacoby Brissett. You mentioned not having J.J. Watt.
I think the Ravens just scored again on the Texans. So your answer to that is what? Because last week they didn't show up in a big game, that defense.
Yeah, and I think that defense, when they go into halftime, they were down 34-0, I think, at halftime. So the second half, it was like, look, let's just get out of here clean. Like, I'm not diving in front of anybody. I'm not running in front of the match.
We lost. Get on the bus.
I think that's a wrap. Let's go. Let's lick our wounds.
There's something bigger at play for the Texans defense. And, there's so many hardworking people in this industry who keep track of injuries and injury updates. The biggest injury updates of my life, like the story, is will Gronk be ready for the Super Bowl? Will Dwight Freeney be ready for the Super Bowl? Will Frank Dukes be ready for the Kumite against Chong Lee? And will T.Y. Hilton be ready for the Texans Week 12 of 2019? There's always this story about someday there's going to be a player owner. Maybe LeBron will own the Lakers and play. We already have it. T.Y. Hilton is an owner of the Houston Texans, and if the Houston Texans have a problem with me saying something, do something about it. You've had about 30 shots. I'll go on a deeper dive in this on game day, but I don't know if there's a player in any sport who owns a rival team more than T.Y. Hilton owns the Texans. Every game, he gets a touchdown or 100 yards, if not both. So I think it looms huge that we're talking and hearing from Randy about game time decision for a calf, a guy who doesn't miss games. I'm telling you, if T.Y. Hilton plays, he will dominate them, and the Colts will win. If he's out, that is a massive victory for the Texans. It's like playing the Celtics without Bird. It's everything. Stay tuned to that.
Schrag, Sean, are we underestimating the Texans?
Yes.
I think you're defending them. I think Schrags and I saw what happened against the Ravens, and now
it's tough. That was
as
a tough
media,
move.
as a fan base, they're underestimating.
Not at all.
They're
the almost team. Yeah. They're the almost team. And I always feel fine using that phrase because it's Bill O'Brien's phrase about his own team. He's talked to them. We are the almost team. They've been the almost team for 20 years. They're really good. And then the second you say, they got it and Deshaun's got everything, they either get their butts kicked or they look terrible in the playoffs. Until they tell me they're not the almost team, they're the almost team.
Colts beat the Texans 30-23 back in Week 7. So if you look at the AFC South standings at this game, and you guys all pretty much have your minds made of how it's going to go, are you prepared to say the winner of this one wins this thing?
Tennessee is an interesting one.
Third man in.
Talk
about it.
Tannehill's 3-1 as a starter. They're watching the league from afar last week. They're seeing how these things are going. Tennessee is an interesting one because we know what happens with the Titans. We've said it time and time again on this show. They'll win, they'll lose, they'll win, they'll lose. Come week 16, 17, they're always in the mix, and they're one of those teams that they'll beat the Patriots here and there. They'll beat the Chiefs here and there. They can turn it on. So Tennessee, to me, is still in this. I wanted to jump in with Jacksonville. I have a hard time after last week watching what the Colts did to them.
If the Colts win this game, I think it's a wrap. They win the division because they're already 4-0 in the division, right? So you look at what the Houston Texans have to do. They've got to play Tennessee twice still. So look, they can lose both of those. Even if they split it, I don't think the Texans can get back into that race. So yeah, if the Colts win, that's it. The division's up. T-shirts and hats. Go ahead and give it to them.
Only face one team with a winning record, the Saints.
That's it.
On the way. Yeah.
I do think it's intriguing, and I won't give up on the Colts. But I think if you were to make a recipe for a team that makes a wild last month run, you got to have a crazy quarterback who came off the bench and like a really fiery head coach that everyone rallies behind, and that's the Titans.
What up, Vrabel?
They have a magnetic attraction to Week 17. We know that. They will be in the mix. The question is, can they catch the Colts? I think not. It's like Peter said, Brissett, Reich, I'm good.
We'll be talking about this game a lot over the next 24 hours leading into TNF right here on NFL Network. But after this, you'll hear it here first. We don't even know.